After watching TikToks about being a high-value woman, she told me I should be paying her a monthly girlfriend allowance. I laughed, said nothing. The next morning, I took my name off the lease, canceled the utilities, and left without a word. 3 days later, she was outside my old apartment, banging on the door, begging me to let her in. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for being here. It means the world. But take a look at this. Only 8% of people watching are subscribed. If you enjoy these stories and want to support more of them, just one click makes a huge difference. So I, 31, moved in with my girlfriend Amber, 28F, about 8 months ago. We'd been dating for a year before that, and everything seemed great. We met through a mutual friend's barbecue, hit it off, and things progressed pretty naturally from there. Some background. I work as a commercial plumber, started as an apprentice at 19, worked my way up, and now run my own crew for a decent-sized company in the city. I'm not rich by any means, but I make good money and have been smart with it. No debt except my truck payment, solid 401k, and some investments I started young, thanks to my grandpa, drilling financial sense into me. Amber works as a marketing coordinator for a local clothing boutique chain. It's not high-paying, but she seemed to enjoy it and was always talking about working her way up to manager. When we decided to move in together, we found a nice 2-bedroom apartment that was a step up from both our previous places. The rent was manageable if we split it, plus utilities and groceries. That was the agreement, split everything down the middle. And for the first 6 months, that's exactly what we did. We'd Venmo each other for bills, take turns grocery shopping, and everything was fair. I even did most of the cooking since I'm better at it and get home earlier most days. About 2 months ago, I started noticing changes in Amber. She was constantly on her phone watching these TikTok and Instagram videos about leveling up and being a high-value woman. At first, I didn't think much of it. People get into different social media trends all the time, right? But then she started making comments. Little things at first. Jenny's boyfriend pays all their rent so she can save for designer bags. Did you know Mike gives Sarah a monthly spending allowance? She doesn't even have to work. All these finance guys on TikTok say a real man provides completely for his woman. I mostly just nodded along or changed the subject. Wasn't worth arguing over some random internet crap, or so I thought. Then last week, Amber sat me down for what she called a relationship upgrade discussion. I still remember exactly how it went down. We were having dinner, chicken stir-fry I'd made after working a 10-hour day fixing burst pipes at an office building downtown. So I've been thinking about our financial arrangement, she started, putting her fork down. And I don't think it's really working for me anymore. I figured maybe she was struggling with her portion of the rent or something. Everything okay with work? We can adjust the split if things are tight right now. She laughed like I'd said something ridiculous. Number. That's not it. I've been doing a lot of research and self-improvement lately, learning about what it means to be a high-value woman. I took a drink of water, already getting a bad feeling about where this was headed. The thing is, she continued, in a truly balanced relationship, men and women bring different things to the table. I bring beauty, supportiveness, and feminine energy. You're supposed to bring resources and provision. I put my fork down. What exactly are you saying here, Amber? I'm saying that splitting bills $50.50 is actually a raw deal for women. I cook. I do most of the cooking. I interrupted. She waved this off. I maintain our social calendar. I make this place a home. I put effort into my appearance. That's actual work that I'm not being compensated for. Compensated? We're in a relationship, not an employment contract. That's such a typical response. She sighed like she was dealing with a child. Look, I've decided that I shouldn't be paying rent or utilities anymore. That should all be on you. I stared at her thinking this had to be some kind of weird joke. You can't be serious. I'm absolutely serious. And actually, she pulled out her phone and showed me a calculator app with some numbers punched in. I think you should be paying me a girlfriend allowance of $2,000 a month. I nearly choked. What now? A girlfriend allowance. All the high-value relationship coaches recommend it. It acknowledges the uncompensated labor women do in relationships and allows me to invest in myself to be an even better partner to you. I looked at her, really looked at her, trying to see if this was the same woman I'd fallen for a year and a half ago. The woman who'd insisted on paying for her own meal on our first date, because that's what equals due. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You want me to pay all of our rent, all of our utilities, and then give you $2,000 a month on top of that? For what exactly? She rolled her eyes. For being your girlfriend, obviously. For emotional support in creating a beautiful environment. For being loyal. Is that something you think you should be paid for? Being loyal? She threw her hands up. You're not listening. This is how modern relationships work now. All the coaches say that 50-50 is for roommates, not romantic partners. If you really valued me, you'd understand that. I laughed. I couldn't help it. It just came out. Her face darkened. What's so funny? Nothing. Absolutely nothing is funny about this conversation. I got up and cleared my plate, suddenly not hungry anymore. For the rest of the night, I was quiet. Amber seemed to take this as me processing her proposal and kept sending me TikTok links to videos featuring women explaining why they deserve to be financially supported while bringing nothing tangible to the relationship. I didn't argue, didn't engage, just nodded and said I needed to think about it. That night, I lay awake for hours, thinking about our entire relationship. Had I missed signs of this entitlement all along? Or was this genuinely new behavior triggered by whatever social media rabbit hole she'd fallen down? Either way, I knew I couldn't continue with someone who fundamentally viewed our relationship as a transaction where I was expected to pay for her presence in my life. The next morning, I got up early while Amber was still asleep, called into work, and told my boss I needed a personal day. First one I'd taken in over a year. He didn't even question it. Then I made some calls. First to the apartment management office, where I explained I needed to remove myself from the lease. Since we were month to month at this point, our original lease had converted after 6 months. They said it would be no problem as long as Amber stayed on. They emailed me the paperwork, which I printed at the UPS store down the street, signed and returned in person. Next, I called the utility companies. Electric, gas, internet, all were in my name. I arranged for service to end the following day, giving Amber a small buffer. Each one asked if I wanted to transfer service to another name. I declined. Then I started packing. I didn't take anything we bought together, just my personal belongings, clothes, tools, and a few kitchen items that were specifically mine from before we moved in. Packed it all in my truck in 3 quick trips while Amber slept in. She never got up before 9 on work days. Left my key on the counter along with a short note. Amber, I've thought about your proposal and decided we want different things from a relationship. I've removed myself from the lease and canceled the utilities effective tomorrow. They're all in my name, so you'll need to set up new accounts. The rent is paid through the end of this month. Good luck with finding someone who meets your new standards. Kyle. By 8:30 a.m., I was pulling into my buddy Mark's driveway. He's divorced and has a spare room he'd been trying to rent out anyway. When I explained the situation, he just shook his head and helped me carry my stuff inside. Girlfriend allowance? That's a new one, he said as we cracked open beers that night, even though it was a Tuesday. Yeah. Apparently, I'm supposed to pay her for the privilege of her time, I replied, like some kind of subscription service. I turned off my phone that night, knowing Amber would eventually wake up, find my note, and blow up my notifications. I wasn't interested in the drama. The next day at work, I used my business phone to call the apartment building's maintenance guy, who I'd gotten to know from fixing a plumbing issue in the building a few months back. Asked him to let me know if anything crazy happened at the apartment. Funny you should ask, he said. Your girlfriend or ex, I guess, had a meltdown in the office this morning, screaming about how they can't let you take your name off the lease without her permission. Manager had to show her the paperwork and remind her it's a month-to-month now. I thanked him for the info and got back to work. That evening, I turned my personal phone back on to a predictable avalanche of texts, calls, and voicemails from Amber. They followed the classic stages. First, confusion. Where are you? What is this note supposed to mean? Then anger. You can't just leave like this. The utilities are in your name. This is so immature. Followed by threats. I'm calling your boss. I'm calling your mom. This is illegal. Then bargaining. Okay, we can compromise on the allowance. Maybe just pay the rent and I'll handle utilities. And finally, panic. Kyle, please, the power's out. The internet is off. I have an important Zoom meeting tomorrow. You can't do this to me. I didn't respond to any of them. On day 3, Mark texted me at work. Dude, your ex is at your old apartment making a scene. Neighbor just called me. Might want to steer clear of the area. I forgot to mention, Mark actually lived in the same apartment complex just 2 buildings over. That's how we became friends in the first place. running into each other at the community grill area. After I moved in with him, he gave his number to a couple of neighbors we were friendly with in case they needed to reach me while I was getting settled. Turns out, Amber had come home to find the electricity and gas shut off. She'd apparently spent the night at a friend's place, then returned expecting services to be magically restored. When they weren't, she started pounding on doors, including what used to be our door, as if I was somehow still inside and just refusing to answer. The maintenance guy filled me in later. The building manager had to explain to her that she needed to set up new accounts in her own name, which would require deposits since she had no utility history. And she'd need to provide proof of income showing she could afford the apartment by herself or find a new roommate. She kept saying it was your responsibility to pay for everything, he told me, clearly amused by the whole situation. Manager asked her if she had that in writing, like some kind of contract. She went ballistic. About a week after I left, Amber's best friend Zoe reached out to me. We'd always gotten along well, and she seemed genuinely concerned. "Kyle, she's a mess," Zoe said when I agreed to meet her for coffee. She had to take days off work to deal with getting the utilities turned back on, had to borrow money from her parents for the deposits. They're furious with her. "That sounds difficult," I replied, not offering anything more. Zoe studied me for a moment. For what it's worth, I told her she was being ridiculous with that allowance stuff. We all did. She just got so caught up in those stupid videos. "Doesn't matter now," I said. "If it wasn't this, it would have been something else eventually." Maybe Zoe conceded. She asked me to find out if you'd reconsider, said she's learned her lesson. I shook my head. The lesson she learned is that actions have consequences. Not that her expectations were wrong. There's a difference. Zoe nodded slowly. "That's actually really insightful. I'm sorry. Things ended this way. You were good for her. Apparently not $2,000 a month." "Good," I joked. We finished our coffee and I haven't heard directly from Amber since through mutual friends. I learned she couldn't afford the apartment on her own and had to break the lease, losing the security deposit. She moved back in with her parents in the suburbs, adding an hour commute to her workday. As for me, I'm still at Mark's place, but looking for my own apartment. Work is going well. Just got promoted to project supervisor, which means more money and more responsibility. I'm dating casually, but nothing serious. Taking my time. Looking back, I don't regret how I handled things. Was it a bit cold to leave while she was sleeping? Maybe. But after being told my role in our relationship was essentially to be an ATM, I didn't feel like I owed her a tearful goodbye. Sometimes the clearest messages don't need words at all, just actions. Oh, and I recently saw Amber posted a new TikTok video that's making the rounds in our social circle. It's about signs your man isn't high value and red flags you shouldn't ignore. Apparently, not wanting to financially support your girlfriend is at the top of the list. Guess I'm guilty as charged and completely at peace with it.